Hello and welcome to day 26 of the Advanced Business English Challenge about idioms that you can use in a professional context. Today we are looking at idioms related to taking risks. So quite similar to the topic that we looked at yesterday, but it's more about taking rather than managing risk. As a reminder, an idiom is an expression that holds a different meaning to its literal meaning, so you need to learn it. They are used extensively in spoken communication by native speakers, but not used in a written context in business English. So you wouldn't use them when you're writing emails or communicating formally through writing. Because idioms are quite informal. And just a reminder that you want to be really careful about learning idioms, listening to them, improving your listening skills in that way, and then consciously focusing on the idioms that you encounter again and again to put those idioms into your own active vocabulary, so that you're really using the idioms sparingly, which means just a little bit, and consciously. We're going to look at them all in context, and just a reminder that that's not how you would use them when you're speaking. You wouldn't pepper your conversation with loads of idioms all at once. You would just have, the odd idiom coming through every now and then. Okay, today, day 26, these are the idioms that we're looking at just for today. Stick your neck out, go out on a limb, put it all on the line, and play with fire. Okay, and as always, we're starting with the idioms in context, so you can get a feel for them in context and think about, do you know them? Have you encountered them before? Look at the same extract again at the end, and hopefully it will make more sense. Here we go. Many said we were playing with fire by investing everything in the development of our cutting-edge technology. We knew we were onto something, though. If you're on to something, that's a way of saying that you feel like you've got a good idea or a good situation that is fortuitous, full of good fortune, and you feel like something exciting is coming. So we knew we were onto something. We knew that we had a good chance of success. Okay, we knew we were onto something, though, and felt we had to stick our necks out to make it work. I respect my advisor who really went out on a limb and was pretty much the only one telling us to go ahead. Okay, pretty we usually know as a synonym of beautiful, but I really like its usage here, pretty much. It's qualifying and saying, pretty much it was kind of almost certainly. My microphone pretty much cut out. I still haven't learned not to move around with my arms too much. Anyway, pretty much it's good for saying that this is almost completely. So the advisor went out on a limb and was pretty much, so almost completely, the only one telling us to go ahead. The financial stakes, so the things being risked financially, the impact financially, if it went wrong, the financial stakes were high, and we put a lot of time and energy in, sweat equity, if you will. Okay, I'm going to finish reading the whole thing. I'll come back to that. Essentially, we poured all our resources into this, and we'd be lying if we said it isn't stressful to put everything on the line. Okay, the financial stakes were high, so it means that they've got a lot of money invested at risk. We put a lot of time and energy in, sweat equity. Okay, sweat equity is when you invest in a business, but not financially. So one investor might put in thousands of pounds, and that would be their financial investment to buy a piece of the business. Another founder or investor might put in sweat equity, like they would be working in the business, sometimes as the only contribution, or other times, as part contribution along with a financial one. So sweat equity, it is the amount of time and energy invested in a business. Sweat equity, if you will. There's a good phrase, and it's saying it's like this, right? Our contribution of all of this time and energy is like sweat equity, or is basically sweat equity. So if you will, that's saying it's like this, or it's basically this. Quite a nice phrase to use when you are making a point or making a comparison, and you're saying, I feel that it is like this. You can say, if you will. It's this, if you will. Okay, and then the other thing, this phrase here, we poured all our resources into this, and we'd be lying if we said blah, blah, blah. That's quite a nice phrase to say, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't difficult. So you say the opposite, and then you say, I would be lying if I said that. It's just really emphasizing the point of what you're saying. So that's for emphasis. Okay, so that's the idioms all together. Let's look at them one by one. So stick your neck out. What do you think it means? She decided to stick her neck out and recommend the new policy to the board. By defending the controversial project, he stuck his neck out for the team. Okay, so it means to take a risk, often by supporting someone or something that might not succeed. So you often see this informally when it's used in the context of people criticizing that they took a risk that perhaps they didn't want to, or perhaps they feel the person is a little bit ungrateful for it. So you often hear it in this context of people saying, I stuck my neck out for you. This is how you repay me? Like, I took a risk for you and you're not grateful. So you often hear it in that context. I stuck my neck out for you. I hope you do well, or I hope you take this seriously, because I went out of my way. I stuck my neck out. I took a risk for you. Okay, so if you stick your neck out, then you take a risk, you take a chance, or you venture into something. Here is a prompt for you to practice speaking out loud with, or to practice writing down. Have you ever stuck your neck out for a colleague or a project at work? What happened? So that's quite a personal question. So maybe a good one to practice speaking with. But it's always good to start immediately practicing using the idioms. Okay, go out on a limb. A limb is arms or legs are limbs. Also, you can have the limb of a tree. So these children are on the strong branches of a tree, the limb of a tree. And that's where this idiom originally comes from. People that went out, they walked or climbed on. They climbed up a tree and then they walked out on the strong branches. They went out on a limb of the tree. Okay, so she went out on a limb by investing in the startup, but it paid off. If it paid off, it's successful. She left herself out on a limb when she complained about bad practices without any proof at all. So she complained, but she had no proof. And as a result, she was left out on a limb. So if you are out on a limb, it means you do something you strongly believe in, even if it's risky. And there's a slight difference between how it's often used in US English versus UK English. So in both US and UK English, it means to do something risky because you believe in it. But in US English, they would focus more on taking a risk. So go out on a limb, ask that person out on a date. Go out on a limb, take the risk. Versus in the UK, it's often used in the context of to make a bold statement that leaves you isolated. So you go against the social norms of what people are thinking about a topic. and you say, actually, I don't agree. I'm going to go out on a limb and say no, even though you've said yes. So you're putting yourself in an isolated and vulnerable position by going against what everyone else is saying. So in that example here, she left herself out on a limb when she complained about bad practices without any proof at all. She criticized what was happening, and so she is separate from the general opinion, and that's made her vulnerable. And she's isolated, so out on a limb. Okay, so out on a limb, if we are doing that, we are taking a chance, venturing out, risking, taking a risk. Here's a prompt for you. In what situation do you feel most comfortable going out on a limb? If I'm using it in terms of making a statement that is not a popular one, I feel most comfortable going out on a limb when I know that the person listening to that statement is open-minded, because I feel less vulnerable that way. Okay, next one. Put it all on the line. What do you think it means? He put it all on the line by quitting his job to start his own company. The athlete put it all on the line in the final race to win the championship. It means to risk everything on a single effort or venture, to give everything that you've got and to kind of put all your eggs in one basket. There's a good idiom. Put all your eggs in one basket, like put huge effort forward and give everything that you possibly can. Now, put your eggs in one basket implies that you are focusing on just one thing, and that's dangerous because it might not go well. So while put it all on the line is very similar, it's slightly different in that put it all on the line is more about, like, yes, risking everything, but the effort as well. So if you're putting it all on the line, you're risking everything, you're betting everything, you're gambling. We also can say lay it all on the line. So put or lay, it's the same thing. Describe a profession where people, reminds me, in the collocations there, if we just take a moment to look at those. So put it all on the line for. So you can put it all on the line for someone, and that often means to take a risk in talking to them, or with, or on, or about. And then this last one here, put your life on the line. We can change what it is that's being risked or put on the line. So put your life on the line means risk your life. Put your house on the line would mean to, risk your house. Like people who have terrible gambling issues, they will put everything that they have on the line. So they might risk their house. So you could change it and put whatever you wanted to within reason there. Right? I cannot put my job on the line by doing that for you. But specifically, putting your life on the line is where you risk your life. There are some people who do that on a day-to-day basis, are everyday heroes. So first responders, fire folk, police officers. So describe a profession where people are asked to put their lives on the line. What do you think of the profession? What do you think of the fact that it is so risk intensive and that they have to put their life on the line? Take a moment and describe that and use that idiom to put it all on the line. Okay, this one, play with fire. Of course, you should never play with fire, literally. But what does it mean in this, laden sense to play with fire? So let's have a look at these examples. He knew that investing in such a volatile market was playing with fire. Volatile means not stable. So up and down, can't see what's going to happen. And then this one, a little bit more informal. Whoever is stealing her lunch from the fridge each day is really playing with fire. She is so angry about it. Have you ever had that situation where someone takes your lunch by accident or even maybe on purpose. I know that happens a lot in offices. It happens a lot in the UK with milk. People complaining about their milk in the fridge going missing. Okay, so playing with fire means to take dangerous or foolish risks. So in that example, someone's stealing her lunch and she's getting more and more angry. She's really, really angry about it. They are playing with fire because they're taking the risk of receiving her wrath, her anger. Okay, so take dangerous or foolish risks, act recklessly. If you act recklessly, you act without care and attention to the danger. So with no thought of the danger, that would be being reckless. If you're playing with fire, you are courting danger. To court someone means to woo them, to attract them. So you are attracting danger. Okay, how do you determine when you're playing with fire versus taking a calculated risk? Do you remember, was it yesterday? It was 2 days ago? I can't remember. One of the days we talked about a calculated risk, meaning a risk that is carefully considered before it's undertaken, and a risk that is likely to pay off or gain success. So how do you determine when you're playing with fire, like acting recklessly and not thinking carefully about risk, versus taking a calculated risk when you are being careful and thinking about risk? How do you know the difference in your professional life or in your personal life? Where's the boundary? Okay, that's all of them. Let's look at the context again, and then we'll move on to a very brief quiz. Many said we were playing with fire, so acting recklessly and taking unnecessary risk and not considering that it's most likely going to go wrong. So many said it was going to go wrong. We were playing with fire by investing everything in the development of our cutting edge, so that means brand new technology, our cutting edge AI technology. We knew we were on to something though, so we had a good chance of success. And we felt we had to stick our necks out. We had to make ourselves vulnerable and take a big risk to make it work. I respect my advisor who really went out on a limb and was pretty much the only one telling us to go ahead. So my advisor who took a risk and said something unpopular and risky, and didn't mind doing that in order to tell them to go ahead. The financial stakes were high and we put a lot of time and energy in, sweat equity, if you will. Essentially, we poured all our resources into this, and we'd be lying if we said it isn't stressful to put everything on the line. So they've put all the time, money, and effort that they have into this. And so they've really risked everything. They've put everything on the line. So yeah, you could put your business on the line, right? They've put their business on the line by focusing on one thing. Okay, let's look at the short quiz. Just 2 questions. Which would you choose, A, B, or C? So you need to choose the definition that matches best for the idiom. So the first one, to play with fire. Does that mean light something, risk something foolishly, or take strategic risks? What do you think? And then number 2, to go out on a limb. Does that mean to take calculated risks, to say something in an angry way, or to do something that makes you vulnerable? What do you think for that one? Okay. Number 1, if you're playing with fire, you are risking something foolishly. You're taking silly risks, not calculated risks. If you are going out on a limb, then it means you are doing something that makes you vulnerable. Also, the other meaning of you're just taking a risk in general, but taking a risk and or doing something that leaves you risk of feeling very vulnerable. Okay, thank you for joining me for today's idioms. I really look forward to seeing you on the next one. And thank you whether you join live, where you were joining live, or whether you're on the replay. I appreciate you being here, and yeah, take care.